Hey everyone, and welcome to Skin Hue, a monthly YouTube series where we will get together and talk about elevating our skin health and wellness while demystifying the healthcare system, helping us to live a more modern, healthy lifestyle. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about creating skincare products for melanin-rich skin. As women of color, we know the skincare challenges and needs we have when it comes to taking care of our skin. And who better to talk to about one of Google's most searched topics than Dr. Beal, who has an extensive background in public health, medical research, and a healthcare executive. And she is now the founder of AbsoluteJOI Skincare. So let's jump right into it. Hi, Dr. Beal. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here because I love the concept of what you're doing and your background.
Oh, thank you.
Speaking of which, I think I'm a bit obsessed with your background because it's so vastly different from what we see from other skincare founders. So can you walk us through your background in public health, medical research, and how you came to found AbsoluteJOI?
Oh, sure. So thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So I'm a physician by training and actually have spent most of my career working in areas of health disparities and public health. I was faculty at Harvard. I've been president of a foundation. I worked in pharma. I've been doing a lot of different things. And essentially came to a point where I said, you know, we have been talking about these health disparities for decades. It's the reason why I went into medicine. And what I discovered is that even after all these years of research and work, just the numbers are not changing.
Yeah.
So kind of wanted to take a step back and say, what is it that I can do that's different? And really decided that what I wanted to do was kind of focus more on prevention, but also focus on the linkage between health and economic development. And so I have a friend and colleague who says that our health outcomes are more determined by our zip code than by our genetic code. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask is, what role can I play in closing the wealth gap that exists within our community, as well as in engaging with other entrepreneurs? So decided that I wanted to start a business and did some thinking about it, taking my sort of business hat and said, okay, what are some of the high margin industries? Because one of the challenges, particularly for Black businesses, is access to capital. And so if you have a high margin business that is able to actually generate a lot of money that you can reinvest, then it's easier to grow that business. And it turns out that skincare is one of those industries. And so for me, I said, skincare, I come from pharma, I know manufacturing, I know science, I know public health. It makes a lot of sense. And so decided to combine all of those factors and decide that I wanted to create a skincare line. But there's more.
Okay.
When I started to then look into skincare, discovered that there are huge disparities in terms of 70% of women of color say products don't work for them. And I knew from my own personal experience that was the case. Plus, when I discovered that so many of the products out there have what's called questionable ingredients. I don't like to use the word toxins because it's a bit of hyperbole.
Sure.
And that most of the products that are marketed to women of color have many of these questionable ingredients. That to me was an issue. And I was like, again, we have health disparities. We can't even wash our faces and be safe. And so there was a lot of discussion around parabens. And then I was like, what are these parabens? So putting on my public health hat, learned that they actually function like estrogen in our bodies and that they're concentrated in estrogen sensitive tumors. And that's where the health disparities came in, because we have known for years that Black women have more issues with uterine fibroids. Breast cancer is more aggressive disease in us. And there's evidence of excess estrogen in our bodies that has a health effect. And I said, you know what? Clean beauty and having products that work, but also that are safe and don't have these chemicals that are absorbed into our bodies is very important. So it was about economics, about skincare, and about safety and health.
Yeah, so did you have your own personal experience? Because I find that when it comes to Black women, when we start a company, you know, we have the background, we have the education, and then we have the research, but we also have like that lived experience. So did you have that experience
you are
as well?
Absolutely right. And interestingly, it was my lived experience as well as my daughter. So even for myself, when I was in my 40s and 50s and, you know, trying to work on just anti-aging, as a physician, I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing. So I'm using like different products, ingredients, and discovered that actually I was using a lot of glycolic acid, which is often used for people for wrinkles. But then I started to develop hyperpigmentation. And I subsequently learned that actually a lot of glycolic acid can in fact cause hyperpigmentation, which is how women of color show age first. So age gets us all, but they say that black don't crack. It actually does.
It does.
But before it cracks, it sags and it turns colors and all of that. And so realize that everything that was out there that was talking about anti-aging really doesn't work well for women of color because we have to be very gentle. For my daughters, their skin is incredibly sensitive. And actually, I know as a clinician that we have a lot of issues with asthma, allergies, and also skin sensitivities. And a lot of the products are just too harsh for our skin. So my daughters, they were always searching for products because their skin is so reactive. So I knew that it needed to be healthy, it needed to be calming, it needed to focus on our needs in terms of anti-aging. And it needed to, I won't say hypoallergenic because that's actually not it's a real term, but there's no test for it. But it really needed to address the fact that we have more issues with skin sensitivities.
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely want to get to the point about ingredients. But before we jump there, I noticed a thread from what you're saying. And in preparing for this interview, you sent me a blurb. And I fell in love with it. And I was like, at this point, this is a whole interview. Like we could stop it right there. But you made the comment about there's so much going on with our internal health and we're not aware and we're not focusing on our health maintenance and even preventative care. So can you elaborate on that a little bit more and kind of make the connection between the internal part and the external part for us?
Absolutely. I mean, we spend so much time putting on makeup and, covering our hair and doing whatever. But if you're not centered, if you're not unstressed, or as people say, unbothered, if you're not eating well, if you're not sleeping, drinking water. I mean, these are all of the things that people kind of talk about in a flippant way, but it's real. It makes a difference in terms of your health and your wellness, and it shows up in your skin, it shows up in your hair. But also the products that we use, we have to really ask ourselves, what is the impact on health? So I was talking about parabens, but what people don't realize is that Black and Latin women have paraben levels that are 4 to 8 times higher than others. And that paraben level, actually that particular study was done in mothers and their newborn babies. And so the babies also have high paraben levels. And because we use like twice as much skincare, we use 7 times as much hair care, we are actually uber consumers of these products. And so we have to be very mindful that it's not just about being cute, but it actually has an impact on your body. And it's this question of everything that we use, everything that we expose ourselves to can be a toxin. So I talk about toxic relationships, toxic jobs, toxic foods, toxic products. All of this has an impact on our health. And it's part of why, yes, there are real issues in terms of systemic racism as to why we have poor outcomes in the community. But there's also part of this environment within which we're living and working and raising our children and, being with our friends that actually has an impact on our health.
And there's something you mentioned in there that I talk about all the time, or I think about all the time, is the fact that because we are driving these markets, right? Like you said, we drive 70% of the market, yet it still puzzles me that there's not a lot of products out there, or there aren't really great effective products that are simple. There are not 12-step programs that focus on skin of color. Do you find that to be true as well, or am I just exaggerating?
You're absolutely right. And again, the market research shows that. So in Europe, 70% of women of color say they can't find products. In the United States, it's 63%. So there's something very real. And I think part of it is that folks don't understand and appreciate the purchasing power that exists in our community. So again, going back even to the medical side, when I was in pharma, I remember talking to a colleague saying we really need to have an agenda that's about diabetes for communities of color because, obviously.
Right, absolutely.
To which he said, well, we don't really have a Medicaid agenda. And I was like, well, most of us are employed. Most of us have private insurance. And at that point, we were actually at a conference in a hotel. And I said, so the women who like change your bed this morning have the same insurance as the CEO in the C-suite of this hotel. And so there's this kind of bias and thought that anything that's going to focus on us is not profitable, is not an opportunity. And I think people don't recognize what not only our purchasing power is, but also that we are frankly uber consumers. And so we're really into consumerism and we buy a lot. And so there's a lot of economic opportunity that exists in our communities.
I couldn't agree with you more. And so speaking of that, when it comes to products for skin of color, do we actually need skincare products from skin of color? Like, I'm gonna push that envelope because like we can turn on any YouTube series and you can go back and forth. But I really want to have your perspective, right? On do we really need that? And then we'll jump into ingredients.
So from my own experience, I would say absolutely yes, because the advice that I was getting didn't really serve my needs as a woman of color. One is the fact that my skin is much more reactive, more prone to hyperpigmentation. And from an anti-aging perspective, anti-aging for me really should focus more on reducing dark marks, which is a function of reducing inflammation. So that's the first thing. Secondly, we're more likely to have oily skin well into adulthood. And so many of us are dealing with acne and wrinkles at the same time. And most of the products that are out there really just focus on the wrinkles, but they use heavy emollients and products that really just don't work for us as having acne. And then lastly is the fact that we do have more skin sensitivities and no one is talking about this. And so the products that we use should not have perfume, should not have excess dyes, should be clean, should be calming to make sure that they actually don't cause inflammation, which then leads to the hyperpigmentation that so many of us complain about. So is our skin different? There are, it's not so much that our skin is different, it's that our needs are different. And that so yes, white women have sensitive skin, but more of us have sensitive skin. White women have acne as adults, but more of us have acne as adults. And so the products that are out there, which are really trying to focus on kind of like the quote unquote norm, aren't really addressing our needs because our needs are not the quote unquote norm.
Absolutely. So let's go to ingredients. We could spend an hour talking about ingredients. So first I want to talk about what are the top 3 ingredients that you believe are most beneficial for women like us. And then we'll jump into how you put those ingredients and other ingredients into your products. And then I want to walk through your line and then really talk about skincare, AKA sunscreen.
Oh, so
let's talk about like the top 3 first.
So now I'm geeking out, right? Because I'm a scientist. But the fact is that from an anti-aging perspective, the number one ingredient that any physician, any dermatologist, any skincare specialist will talk about is retinol, which is in many ways a pretty basic ingredient. And we want to think about there are different types of retinol. Some are more aggressive or assertive is the term I like to use than others. And so we actually really need a very gentle approach. The other issue with retinol is that it helps both with acne as well as with dark marks, as well as with wrinkles. And so it is actually an excellent, excellent ingredient to use, particularly from an anti-aging perspective, beginning when you're in your 20s, 30s, even earlier. But the fact is very few brands made for women of color contain this ingredient. It's very expensive.
So I was gonna, I have to pause there. That's interesting. We can benefit from it the most, yet those products don't have it.
It's expensive.
Okay.
So that's the first thing.
Okay.
We love our shea, but shea is not going to solve everything. Okay. Right. Even I have some shea ingredients. It's good for moisturization, but it doesn't solve all of the problems. And so I was in fact surprised at how few products and how few brands that really target us don't have a retinol in them. And so a lot of people are like, my retinol oil, it has the retinol in it. And then it has a number of oils like argan oil and rosehip oil. And it actually has a vitamin C, which is excellent for our skin. And people are like, oh my God, this is a miracle oil. And I'm like, no, honey, it's retinol. Okay. It's just retinol, but it's like really good. Yeah. And I was very deliberate in wanting an over-the-counter retinol. And I wanted it to be really good for sensitive skin because that's actually very common in our community. So that's number one ingredient. Number 2, sunscreen, sunscreen, sunscreen. That's 3, 4, and 5, actually.
Okay.
So, and the reality is the single most important thing we can do for skin health, single most, is wear sunscreen every single day, summer, winter, year round.
Even when it's cloudy outside?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Every single day. The other issue is that because we are more prone to skin sensitivities, many of us don't tolerate chemical sunscreens. And so we would do better with the mineral sunscreens. And so mineral sunscreen is zinc oxide, titanium dioxide. It's the same ingredients that's used in diaper cream. So it's that white, thick stuff.
Yeah.
It is excellent for skin health. Aesthetically, it looks horrible on our skin. I remember one day I walked into the kitchen. I was like, let me try this. My husband was like, what happened to you? Because
the white cast.
Oh my God. So even as fair skinned as I am, he was like, you look dead. Okay. You look like you're a vampire. So, and so what I wanted was something that was not chemical, because like my daughters who have very sensitive skin can't wear it. It also makes me break out. Many of my girlfriends have said the same thing. And so with the mineral sunscreens, if you use what's called a micronized version, where it's very, very small, then it doesn't reflect light as much.
Okay.
And so it needs to be micronized. But then I wanted to take it to another level. And actually my daughter was my inspiration. We were on the beach and I was like, honey, she's like, I know, we'll put on my sunscreen. So she took some sunscreen, then she took her foundation and mixed the two together and said, I can't be out here looking like a ghost. And I was like, that's the key, is to put a little bit of color in it. And the color is not meant to match your skin. It's not meant to be a foundation, but what it does is it hides the white cast.
Gotcha.
So that you can do this. And then I'm all about simplicity, because you can have the best skincare routine, but if people aren't going to do it, then you might as well not have it. So I wanted to put it in a moisturizer, because everyone does moisturize every day. I wanted to add an SPF, because you should have it every day. And I wanted it to be mineral, because that is healthy and less irritating to your skin. And I wanted it to be tinted so that people would feel that, okay, I'm wearing something which feels a little bit cosmetic, but it hides the white cast and it works. And of course it has hyaluronic acid, it has vitamin C, it has, all of those other ingredients. So that's the second ingredient. Now, the third ingredient is vitamin C. I would say beginning at 15, everyone should be using vitamin C every single day. It is, first of all, it's incredibly safe. It is incredibly effective. It helps with dark marks. It helps build collagen. One of the challenges, though, with vitamin C is that it's not stable. Yeah. And ascorbic acid is actually the form of vitamin C that you really want. It has really the best effect on your skin, but it's not stable. So actually in my night oil, I put a fat soluble form of vitamin C so that my oil is a vitamin C plus a retinol that works together. And so really, if you can have just vitamin C, retinol, and sunscreen, you're good. You're good to go.
Retinol, vitamin C, retinol, sunscreen, vitamin C.
It really should be sunscreen, retinol, and vitamin C, but we can debate that.
Yeah. All of them is a must though, regardless.
Absolutely.
And so speaking of ingredients, I think earlier we talked about clinical trials and research. Not a lot of products take that route. So can you explain to me how you incorporated that in there, or was it more of your background in order to get to your product?
That's a great question, because one of the things that we say about our brand is that we're based on science, not hype. And there's a lot of hype out there. So there's a lot of stuff that people are talking about. I was like, yeah, show me the trial. Show me the evidence.
Yeah.
And so literally every ingredient that I selected because I did the research to see if there's an effect on skin that has been documented. And it frankly doesn't even have to be the research that I've done, because there's plenty of people who are doing research all around the world on all of these different ingredients. And so I really decided that was the approach that I was going to take, is that it had to be a science-based brand. And so it's not just that every ingredient has to have an effect, but also the importance of things such as your microbiome, managing the pH of your skin, maintaining the integrity of your skin barrier. All of that was part of the research that I did. Every oil that's in here is designed, and there's evidence that it does something which is beneficial for your skin. And so that's why there's no perfumes, no dyes, because there's really no benefit from all of those. So I was very deliberate in really taking a scientifically based approach to picking every single ingredient.
That's so important, because I had my own skin challenges, and it took me about 2.5 years from start to finish. First, it was how do I treat it? Finding the right dermatologist, finding the right esthetician, as you know, is very challenging. And then it was finding the right products, right? Like my doctor simply didn't have, 30 minutes to sit down with me like I am with you, like to go through everything. But what I really appreciate about the 3 pillars that you have is also that it's convenient or easy to use. And it's like simple steps. So that you take a lot of time to like work through that. To how do you create a skincare routine that's not 10 or 12 sets, but something that's manageable for someone like me who's busy, but I'm health and wellness minded, but I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you can hold on to me that long in the process, especially when I'm tired.
That's real.
Right?
It's
so
real.
I want to peek into like how you got to that point.
Yeah. So in medicine, we used to talk about compliance. Now we talk about adherence. I like to talk about, not compliance, but people really sticking with the regimens. And so when you think about it, even with something as simple as an antibiotic, if you have to take an antibiotic, basic penicillins are every 6 hours. If you've ever had to do something every 6 hours for 10 days, you're going to forget. As compared to there are other forms of penicillin that you could take just once a day or twice a day. It is easy to remember, when I'm brushing my teeth or whatever. And so just the simplicity of it makes it easier for patients to be quote unquote compliant or to adhere to the recommendations. Skincare is the same. If it's simple, if it fits into people's lives, then they're more likely to do it. And so what's the best skincare regimen? The one that you do every single day, right? And so if you have something which is an extensive regimen that is like 10 steps, and then like you say, you're tired and you're like, I can't take an hour out of every day in order to do this, then that person is not going to do it at all. And so you want to recommend something that is simple. And, I have a job, I have kids, I have a life, I have friends, I want to relax. Like, I don't want to spend an hour doing my skincare routine. So that's why it was important to make sure that it was something that people could actually stick to because it's simple and effective and easy to use.
Awesome. So I think that's a perfect segue to walk through your line. And so personally, I've been really eyeing the oil, like the night oil, like those are my jams now.
Yeah.
So like, I want to walk through each of your products and you can kind of tell me why you create that product, the ingredients in there, because I really want everyone to know about this line.
Okay, excellent. So let's start first with the night oil, which was the first product. And the reason why I started with that is because it is a retinol product and it's a vitamin C product. And I knew that people using it would see the difference in their skin upon using it. Plus, it has a lot of oils that have been demonstrated to be effective in terms of their benefits for your skin. So argan oil, rosehip oil, moringa oil, which that's my jam, is moringa oil.
Yeah.
So that's this product here, which...
it pulls down.
Exactly. So what I wanted was to kind of have this sort of voila kind of experience for people as they opened it up. And so actually, if you want to try it, take it out and you can try it.
It's fancy.
Pull it out there.
Pull it out this way?
Yeah.
I'll let you grab it.
Although, to be honest, a friend said, throw out your boxes. I was like, do you know how much time I spent designing this box? So
I won't like spray it. I'll just spray it on my hand.
Yeah.
So I could see.
Yeah. So this is a night oil that's designed to be used after you've washed, cleansed, toned, everything. And it's made with, as I said, 6 different oils, plus it has retinol, plus it has the vitamin C. And so you just take 1 pump and then just seal it onto your face. And then that's it.
And it has a light, simple, fresh scent to it.
Yeah.
But
that's actually the natural
fragrance. That's what I'm saying. It's not fragrance. It's just the natural.
Yeah, that's actually what moringa and jojoba and everything smells like.
I
so
need this.
Okay,
everybody, this is it right here.
So then the next thing that people were asking for is they said, okay, I want a cleanser. And I was like, a cleanser, like how can one differentiate based on a cleanser? But a lot of us actually don't focus on double cleansing, which is something that if you're into the K-beauty, or if you understand like how the geishas used to maintain their skin, is they would use a double cleansing system. And there's actually a science behind it, right? So there's this principle that like dissolves like.
Okay.
Right? And so the best way to get rid of an oil is with another oil. The best way to get rid of something that's water-based is with water. And so if your skin has a lot of oil, if your skin is has a lot of makeup or pollution or sunscreen, the best way to get rid of that is to actually rub an oil into your face. So the first cleanser, as part of the double cleansing system, let me open this up. I knew this was going to happen.
That's all right.
So this is the cleanser for the double cleansing system.
For the double cleanse.
Yeah. And so this is made with sunflower oil.
I won't spray it.
And moringa oil, right? No perfumes, right? And the reason why I wanted to use a sunflower oil is because sunflower is actually one of the few plant-based oils that if you massage it into your skin, it actually helps to build ceramides. So it's helping to really build up the natural barrier in your skin that is really good for holding in moisture. Moringa, that's my jam oil, has a lot of antioxidants, so it's excellent. And the thing with cleansing is, for most of us, the problems that we have with our skin are often self-induced. And if you just take the time to clean your skin and do it gently and maintain the integrity of your skin barrier, that actually makes a lot of problems go away. And so I recommend a double cleansing system, but the key is to slow down and not just go rinse and then call it a day, but it's to actually take a full 60 seconds to rub it into your skin. And so in terms of the oil, that actually helps rub it into your pores to get rid of the excess oil. It helps to get rid of the makeup, all of that. And you take the time to rub it into your skin. Then there is an emulsifier so that it rinses away actually cleanly.
And so you use this first, then you use what we think of as a cleanser.
Exactly. So this is the foaming cleanser. Now, all respect to Dr. Bronner's, but that is too alkaline for our skin.
So you're just gonna call him out like that,
right? I'm just saying because I used to love Dr. Bronner so much, but the issue is that our skin naturally is acidic at a pH of 4.5, and most of these foaming cleansers are very alkaline. They're made with lye back in the day, and so they're very the pH is too high. And so in order for your skin to be healthy, it needs to actually be at a lower pH. So what I wanted to do was to create a cleanser that is at a much lower pH so that it is more aligned with the natural pH of our skin, doesn't have sulfates, and is really hydrating. So there's a lot of glycerin in there as well. And it's hydrating, and it does foam, but it doesn't strip. So once you're done using it, and again, taking the time to do 60 seconds, then your skin feels clean, but not squeaky clean, which is not a good thing for your skin.
Okay, so I think we have time for one more. So out of the three that are left, like what would be the go-to?
Absolutely the moisturizer.
Gotcha.
All right. And so the moisturizer, so after you've cleansed and then you've toned, and the toning is good because it brings your skin back to its natural pH. During the day, what you want to use is just a nice moisturizer. This is vitamin C, hyaluronic, green tea, all the things we want from a moisturizer. But in addition to the green tea and the hyaluronic acid, it also has SPF in it. And it's an SPF that's tinted so that it is designed, and you can try it on your hand, to really disappear into your skin. So we're both fair skinned. You can see how it just disappears.
Nice. I might be I think I got a little bit too much, but I wanted to do that because I wanted to.
And the whole purpose of it is to give women something that they can wear every single day, that has the SPF that protects their skin. But the other issue is that it actually also provides 60% protection against blue light. And the issue with blue light, particularly in darker skinned folks, is that actually causes hyperpigmentation.
Oh, really?
And the number one source of blue light is our TV screens, our phones, our computers, all of this. And so actually we need to not only wear sunscreen to protect our skin from ultraviolet light, but we also, particularly for darker skin folks, need to protect ourselves from blue light. And what's interesting is that the blue light is less of an issue if you're lighter skin. So there's a Fitzpatrick scale from 1 to 6. So the 1s and 2s and even the 3s don't have as much issue, but the 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s tend to have more issues with blue light and hyperpigmentation. And so that's why you actually need a coverage that protects your skin against blue light as well.
I really like this. And it's also, I think it would be great for those women like me who don't like foundation. So we're always looking for like the perfect, like tinted moisturizer.
Exactly.
Like this is perfect. So, I mean, we talked about a lot today. Like there were so many gems in there. I feel like we could come back and have a podcast on just each one of those topics that we talked about. But again, thank you so much for coming. But before we leave, I want you to tell everyone where they can find you, find more out about you personally, but also where to purchase their own products.
So they can go to our webpage, AbsoluteJOI.com, or we can be found on Amazon, or for those in the DMV, they can go down to the Brown Beauty Co-op, which is a Black-owned store that's dealing with a number of major products. And they can also find out more about me on my founder's story there on the webpage.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.